When David walked into the cafe, he had no idea he was walking into a joke, a cruel one. In the corner, 3 women watched, phones ready to record. "Let's see if he still stays," one of them whispered, pushing a wheelchair toward the table. David froze. The woman waiting for him, Maya, looked up. Beautiful, composed. But her eyes told the truth. She already knew this was a setup. He placed the small bouquet on the table. "Hi, I'm David." Maya forced a smile. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "They think it's funny." David sat down anyway. "Then I guess the joke's on them." What none of them knew, not the women recording, not even Maya, was that this so-called joke would change both their lives, forever. If you're enjoying this story so far, please subscribe to the channel and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories coming. Now let's continue. David's hands were still shaking when he sat down. Not from nervousness, well, maybe a little, but from rage. He'd seen them. The 3 women in the corner booth with their phones angled just right. One of them was Trent's girlfriend, Jessica. The same Jessica who'd texted him 2 days ago. "Trust me, bro, this girl is perfect for you." Perfect. Right. Maya wasn't looking at him anymore. She was staring at the bouquet, white roses mixed with baby's breath, like it was evidence in a trial she'd already lost. "They're from the corner store," David said, trying to break the ice. "I know they're not fancy, but they're beautiful." Her voice cracked just enough to betray her. Silence. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that pressed down on your chest. David leaned forward. "Look, I don't know what they told you, but I didn't know about this." He gestured vaguely, hating himself for not having better words. "If you want me to leave, I will, but not because of them." Maya's jaw tightened. "You should leave. Save yourself the embarrassment." "Embarrassment?" David laughed, short, bitter. "Lady, I work on cars for a living. I've had engine oil spray in my face in front of a client's Lamborghini. Embarrassment and I are old friends." A flicker, just a flicker of a smile. "Besides," David continued, "my daughter told me something this morning. She said, Dad, real strength isn't in your muscles, it's in showing up even when you're scared." Maya blinked. "How old is your daughter?" 9, going on 40. This time, Maya actually smiled. Small, but real. But then everything shifted. The cafe door chimed. A man walked in. Tall, expensive suit. The kind of guy who looked like he owned things. He spotted Maya immediately, and his expression twisted into something ugly. "Well, well," his voice carried across the room. "Maya Lane. Didn't expect to see you out, rolling around in public." The entire cafe went silent. David's fists clenched under the table. Maya's face drained of color. "Marcus, leave." "What? You on a date?" Marcus laughed, loud and performative. "Who's the guy? Let me guess. Another charity case you're trying to fix." David stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "You need to walk away," David said, his voice low and steady. "Dangerous." Marcus sized him up. Grease under the fingernails, flannel shirt, work boots. "Or what?" Marcus smirked. "You gonna fight me, mechanic?" "No." David stepped closer. "I'm gonna let you embarrass yourself, because right now everyone in here is watching you act like a jackass to a woman in a wheelchair, and I promise you that's a fight you're already losing." The air crackled. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. His eyes darted around the room. Every single person was staring. Some had their phones out. He left without another word. David sat back down, adrenaline still buzzing in his veins. Maya was staring at him like he'd just pulled her from a burning building. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. "Yeah, I did." "You don't even know me." "I know enough." Silence again. But this time, it wasn't suffocating. It was something else. "He's my ex," Maya said suddenly. "Marcus. We were together before the accident. The day I woke up in the hospital, he was gone. Just gone. Left a note saying he couldn't handle it." David's chest tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I dodged a bullet." She laughed, but it was hollow. "Or I guess the bullet just came later. That's dark. It's true. David leaned back, studying her. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why'd you agree to this date, if you knew it was a setup? Maya hesitated. Her fingers traced the edge of her coffee cup. Because, she said quietly, I wanted to see if anyone would stay. The words hit him like a punch, not dramatic, just honest. Well, David said, I'm still here. Why? He thought about it. Really thought. Because my daughter told me something else this morning. She said, Dad, the right person doesn't see what's broken. They see what's beautiful. Maya's eyes glistened. And honestly, David added, I think you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. And I've only known you for like 10 minutes. She laughed, really laughed this time, loud and unfiltered. Across the cafe, Jessica and her friends lowered their phones. The joke wasn't funny anymore, but here's the thing. Neither David nor Maya knew the truth yet. Not about each other. Not about the massive collision course their lives were already on. Because in 3 days, David would walk into a corporate high-rise to fix a broken elevator, and the CEO waiting for him on the 40th floor. Yeah, you can guess who that was. But what David couldn't guess, what would absolutely shatter everything he thought he knew, was what Maya was about to offer him, and why. 3 days. That's how long it took for David's life to implode. Not because of the date that had gone better than he ever expected. No, the real chaos started when the video dropped. David was under a Honda Civic when his phone started buzzing. Once, twice, 17 times in 30 seconds. What the... He rolled out from under the car, oil-streaked and confused. The first text was from his brother. Dude, you're famous. The second was from Trent. I can explain. The third was a link. David clicked it. His stomach dropped. 4.2 million views. Posted 2 hours ago. The video showed everything. Him sitting down. Marcus confronting them. David standing up. Voice steady as steel. And then, Maya's face when he called her strong. The comments were a battlefield. This man is a king. Why would someone prank a woman in a wheelchair? That's sick. I'm crying. This is what humanity should look like. But then, staged. No way this is real. He probably knew she was rich. Gold digger vibes. David's jaw clenched. Rich? What? He called Trent immediately. Pick up, you coward. David, listen. You set me up. David's voice echoed through the garage. His co-worker, Luis, looked up from the engine he was working on, eyes wide. It wasn't supposed to go like that, Trent stammered. Jessica just thought it'd be funny to see if you'd actually stay. You know, test your character or whatever. Test my character. David was pacing now, phone pressed so hard against his ear it hurt. You turned a human being into a punchline, Trent. I know, but look, people love you now. You're like a hero or something. David hung up. He didn't want to be a hero. He just wanted to fix cars and pick up his daughter from school without being recognized. Too late for that. By the time he got home that evening, his phone had exploded with messages. Friends from high school he hadn't talked to in 15 years. Reporters asking for interviews. Random people sending heart emojis and calling him an inspiration. His daughter, Sophie, was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework when he walked in. Dad, why is Mrs. Patterson from next door saying you're on the internet? David sighed and dropped into the chair across from her. Because people filmed something that was supposed to be private. Sophie's eyes narrowed, the same sharp look her mother used to give him. What did you do? I just treated someone nicely. And that's newsworthy. Sophie closed her math book. Dad, the world is weird. Yeah, kiddo, it really is. The next morning, David was in the middle of changing oil on a beat-up Corolla when an unknown number called. He almost didn't answer. Hello? Is this David Chen? The voice was crisp, professional, female. Yeah? This is Vanessa Park, executive assistant to Maya Lane. Ms. Lane would like to speak with you. David froze. Maya, from the cafe. Yes, Are you available tomorrow at 2 p.m.? She'd like to meet in person. Yeah, sure, where? Silver Peak Tower, downtown, 40th floor. The line went dead. Luis whistled low from across the garage. Silver Peak? Bro, that's the tech building. The fancy one with the waterfall lobby. David frowned. Why would Maya want to meet there? Maybe she works there? She didn't mention anything about... And then it hit him. The comments. He probably knew she was rich. David pulled out his phone and typed, Maya Lane. The search results loaded. His blood turned to ice. Maya Lane, 32, CEO of Silver Peak Technologies. Net worth, $870 million. Youngest woman to helm a Fortune 500 tech company. Paralyzed 2 years ago in a car accident. Returned to work 6 months later. Fired half her board. Tripled company revenue. Oh my God. Luis leaned over his shoulder. That's who you went on a date with. David couldn't breathe. She wasn't just successful, she was a titan. And he'd bought her $12 flowers from a corner store. The next day, David stood outside Silver Peak Tower at 1:55, sweating through his only clean button-down shirt. The building was glass and steel, all sharp angles and reflected clouds. People in tailored suits glided past him like he was invisible. He didn't belong here. Inside, the lobby was worse. A literal waterfall cascaded down one wall. The ceiling was 3 stories high. Everything smelled like money and minimalism. David Chen? A woman in a charcoal blazer appeared. Vanessa, he assumed. That's me. Follow me. The elevator ride to the 40th floor felt like ascending into another dimension. Vanessa didn't make small talk, just scrolled through her tablet, all business. When the doors opened, David stepped into a hallway lined with modern art that probably cost more than his house. Vanessa stopped at a massive glass door. She's inside. She left. David hesitated. His hand hovered over the handle. Just open the door. You defended her. She probably wants to say thank you. He opened the door. The office was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. And there, behind a sleek desk, was Maya. But she wasn't alone. 12 people sat around a conference table. All eyes turned to David. His heart slammed against his ribs. Maya smiled. David, come in. His legs moved on autopilot. Everyone, Maya said, voice clear and commanding. This is David Chen, the man from the video. A murmur rippled through the room. David, Maya continued, meet my board of directors. Oh no, this wasn't a thank you coffee. This was a full corporate ambush. 3 days ago, Maya said, addressing the room but looking at David, I was humiliated, set up by people I thought were friends, filmed like a circus act. Her voice didn't waver. And then this man, a stranger, did something none of you have done in the 2 years since my accident. The board shifted uncomfortably. He treated me like a person. She turned fully to David now. You didn't pity me. You didn't perform. You just stayed. David's throat was dry. That's why, Maya interrupted. I'm offering you a position. The room went silent. What? David breathed. Maya's eyes glinted, sharp, calculating, and something else, something that looked like hope. I'm launching a new initiative, accessibility consulting, dignity-driven design, helping companies see people the way you saw me. She paused. I want you to lead it. David's brain short-circuited. I fix cars. You fix people's perceptions. That's rarer. I don't have a degree. I didn't even finish. I don't care about credentials, Maya said flatly. I care about character, and you've already proven yours. One of the board members, a silver-haired man in an expensive suit, cleared his throat. Ms. Lane, with all due respect, this is highly irregular. Irregular? Maya's voice turned cold. So was firing me via text after I broke my spine. Oh wait, that wasn't you, Gregory. That was my ex, but you did vote to remove me as CEO while I was in recovery. Gregory went pale. Maya smiled, razor sharp. Motion passed. David's hired. Meeting adjourned. The board filed out in stunned silence. David stood frozen, his mind racing through 1,000 questions and 0 answers. When the door finally closed, Maya exhaled. Her confidence flickered, just for a second. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "That was a lot." "You think?" David's voice cracked. "I came here thinking you wanted to get coffee and say thanks. Instead, I just got hired in front of 12 people who looked like they wanted to throw me out the window." Maya laughed. Actually laughed. "They'll get over it. Or they won't. I don't really care anymore." She wheeled closer. "I meant what I said. I need someone who sees people. Really sees them." Her eyes searched his. "Will you help me?" David thought about his daughter, about the bills stacked on his kitchen counter, about the fact that he was one bad transmission away from financial ruin. But mostly he thought about the woman in front of him, the one who'd been betrayed, broken, filmed, mocked, and was still fighting. "Yeah," he said. "I'll help." Maya's smile was genuine this time, soft, vulnerable. But neither of them saw the shadow outside the glass door, or the phone recording everything. David didn't sleep that night, not because of the job offer, though that was enough to make anyone's head spin. No, it was something else. Something gnawing at the edge of his mind like a splinter he couldn't find. The way Maya had looked at him in that boardroom, vulnerable, exposed, like she'd just handed him a loaded gun and hoped he wouldn't pull the trigger. He kept replaying her words. "I need someone who sees people." But what did she see when she looked at him? A good man? Or just another person who'd eventually leave? At 3 in the morning, Sophie appeared in his doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Can't sleep either?" David asked. She climbed onto his bed. "You're thinking too loud," he smiled. "Sorry, kiddo." "Is it about the lady from the video?" David's chest tightened. "Yeah." Sophie was quiet for a moment, then, "Mom used to say you have a rescuer complex." The words hit harder than they should have. "She said that?" "Before she left, I heard her on the phone with Grandma." Sophie picked at her rabbit's ear. "She said you always wanted to fix people, but you couldn't fix her." David's throat closed. "Sophie." "I'm not saying she was right." Sophie looked up at him with those impossibly wise 9-year-old eyes. "I'm just saying, don't forget to fix yourself too." The next morning, David showed up to his first day at Silver Peak wearing the same button-down shirt, freshly washed this time, and the most expensive shoes he owned. They still looked cheap. Vanessa met him in the lobby with a tablet and zero warmth. "Your office is on the 38th floor. Ms. Lane wants you to start by reviewing these case files." She handed him the tablet. "You have meetings at 10, noon, and 2. Your assistant will brief you." "My assistant?" "Yes. Her name is Rachel. She'll keep you organized." David blinked. "I have an assistant." "You're a department head now, Mr. Chen. Act like it." She walked away, heels clicking like gunshots. David stared at the tablet. The screen showed a list of companies, hotels, airlines, restaurants. Each one had a file marked with a single word in red, violation. He scrolled through the first one. A luxury hotel in Manhattan had refused to accommodate a guest's wheelchair-accessible room request. The guest had been Maya. The second file. An airline had forced a disabled passenger to crawl off the plane because the jet bridge was temporarily unavailable. The passenger was Maya. The third, a 5-star restaurant had asked Maya to sit in the back so she wouldn't make other guests uncomfortable. David's blood boiled. Every single file was personal. Every violation had happened to her. Starting to see the picture, he looked up. Maya had wheeled into the hallway, coffee in hand. She looked tired, beautiful but tired. "You kept records," David said. "I kept receipts." She took a sip of coffee. "Every time someone treated me like a problem instead of a person. Every time I was told to be grateful for crumbs, I documented it all." "Why?" "Because I got tired of being polite." Maya's eyes hardened. "And now I have the resources to make them pay attention." David looked back at the tablet. "So this job, it's not just about helping people. It's about revenge." "No." Maya's voice was sharp. It's about justice. There's a difference. The elevator dinged behind them. A young woman stepped out, early 20s, bright-eyed, carrying an overstuffed planner. "Mr. Chen, hi, I'm Rachel, your assistant. Ready for your first meeting?" David glanced at Maya. She gave him a look that said, "Welcome to the deep end." The first meeting was with a team of architects designing a new hotel chain. They presented their plans, glossy renderings of marble lobbies and infinity pools, while David sat at the head of the table, trying not to look like an imposter. "As you can see," the lead architect said, "we've incorporated all ADA requirements, ramps, handrails, accessible rooms on every floor." David studied the designs. Something felt off. "Where are the accessible rooms located?" he asked. "Ground floor near the service entrance." David set down the tablet. "So you're putting disabled guests next to the dumpsters." The room went silent. "That's not... We're just maximizing efficiency." Efficiency. David leaned forward. "Let me ask you something. If you broke your leg tomorrow and needed a wheelchair for 6 months, would you want to roll past garbage trucks every time you left your room?" The architect's face flushed. "Well, no, but..." "Then why would anyone else?" One of the junior architects spoke up. "What do you suggest?" David pulled up the rendering. "Put accessible rooms on every floor. Same views as standard rooms. Same locations. Not hidden away like an afterthought." He looked around the table. "Accessibility isn't a checklist. It's dignity." The lead architect looked like he'd swallowed glass. "That will increase costs." "Then increase costs." David's voice was firm. "Because if you don't, I'll recommend Ms. Lane pull her investment. And trust me, she's got better things to do with $100 million than fund a hotel that treats people like trash." Rachel's eyes went wide. The meeting ended 5 minutes later. The architects left, looking shaken. Rachel turned to David. "That was... intense. Too much?" "No," she grinned. "That was perfect." By the time David got home that evening, he was exhausted. Not from the work, from the weight of it. Every decision mattered. Every word carried consequences. Sophie was at the kitchen table, earbuds in, doing homework. David dropped his bag and collapsed into a chair. "How was day one?" Sophie asked without looking up. "Weird, hard, important." "Sounds like you," he smiled. "Thanks, I think." His phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "You were right about the hotel. They just called. They're redesigning everything." David typed back, "Good." Another text. "Dinner tomorrow? Non-work related, I promise." His heart did something complicated. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed again. Different number, unknown. He opened it. It was a photo. Him and Maya, in her office. Yesterday. The angle was from outside the glass door. Someone had been watching. Below the photo, "People are asking questions, David. Who are you really? A good guy? Or just another opportunist?" His blood ran cold. Another text. "Check your email." David opened his inbox. The subject line made his stomach drop. Leaked. CEO Maya Lane's secret relationship with employee. Gold digger or love story? The article was already published, already spreading. And attached to it, screenshots of texts he'd never sent, photos that had been doctored, quotes he'd never said. Someone was destroying him, and they'd just gotten started. Sophie looked up. "Dad? You okay?" David's hands were shaking. Yeah, I'm fine." But he wasn't, because whoever was doing this, they knew exactly how to hurt him. They knew his vulnerabilities, his past, his fear of being seen as someone who used people. And the worst part, he had no idea who it was, or why they wanted him gone. The article went nuclear by morning. David woke up to 43 missed calls, 200 texts, and a news van parked outside his house. "Dad." Sophie stood in his doorway, phone in hand, face pale. "Kids at school are talking. They're saying you're using that lady for money." David's heart shattered. He got up, went to the window. The news van had multiplied. 3 now. Reporters with cameras. One was doing a live broadcast from his front lawn. His phone rang. "Maya," he answered. "Don't go outside." Her voice was steel. "Don't talk to anyone. I'm sending a car." "Maya, I didn't—" "I know. We'll figure this out. Just stay inside." The line went dead. Sophie grabbed his arm. "Dad, what's happening?" "Someone's lying about me." He knelt down to her level. "But I need you to know, everything they're saying, it's not true. I'm not using Maya. I'm not after her money. I took that job because you wanted to help people," Sophie finished. "I know, Dad. I know." She hugged him tight. But in her eyes, David saw doubt creeping in. Tiny, barely there, but present. That's what lies did. They planted seeds. The car arrived 20 minutes later. Blacked-out SUV, a driver who looked like he'd been special forces. David climbed in. Sophie was going to stay with his brother, away from the circus. The drive to Silver Peak was silent. David's mind raced through every interaction, every conversation. Who would do this and why now? When he arrived, Vanessa was waiting in the lobby. No greeting, just, "Conference room, now." David followed her upstairs. The elevator felt like a coffin. Inside the conference room, Maya sat at the head of the table, but she wasn't alone. A woman in a sharp grey suit sat beside her, late 40s, calculating eyes. A lawyer, David guessed, and across from them, someone David didn't expect. Jessica, Trent's girlfriend, the one who'd set up the date. David's blood turned to ice. What is she doing here? Jessica looked smug, satisfied, like she'd already won. Maya's voice was cold. "Jessica came forward this morning. She claims she has information about you." "Information?" David's fists clenched. "What information?" Jessica leaned forward. "That you knew who Maya was before the date. That you planned the whole thing." "That's a lie." "Is it?" Jessica pulled out her phone. "Then explain this." She turned the screen toward him. It was a text message, from David's number, sent 2 days before the date. "Just found out she's loaded. This could change everything." David's world tilted. "I didn't send that." "It came from your number," Jessica said sweetly. "Then someone spoofed it." David looked at Maya. "You know I didn't—" Maya's expression was unreadable, locked down, guarded. The lawyer spoke. "Mr. Chen, these messages were verified by a forensic analyst. The metadata checks out. They came from your device." "That's impossible." David's voice cracked. "I don't even—" "Maya, you have to believe me." Maya looked at him, really looked at him. For a moment, David saw something flicker. Doubt, fear, hope. Then it vanished. "Get out," Maya said quietly. "What?" "Get out." Her voice was flat, dead. "You're suspended pending investigation. Security will escort you." David couldn't breathe. "Maya." "Don't." She turned away. "I thought you were different. I thought—" Her voice broke just slightly. "I was wrong." Security appeared at the door. Jessica smiled, and David realized too late that he'd been set up. Again. But this time the stakes were so much higher. The ride home was a blur. David's hands shook. His mind spiraled. Someone had hacked his phone, fabricated texts, planted evidence. But who? And how? When he got home, the news vans were gone. Moved on to the next story, probably. But the damage was done. David sat in his empty kitchen, staring at his phone. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He called his ex-wife. "David?" Melissa's voice was surprised. "What's wrong?" "I need your help." Silence. "Are you drunk?" "I'm serious. Someone's framing me. And I think—" He paused. "I think they're using something from our past." Melissa sighed. "David, what are you talking about?" "When we were together, you said I had a rescuer complex. You said I always needed to fix people." His voice wavered. "Did you ever tell anyone that?" "I mean, yeah, my therapist, my mom. Why does—" "Did you ever post about it? Online? Blogs? Social media?" "Maybe." I don't know, David. It was years ago. Her tone shifted, concerned. What's going on? David told her everything. The date, the job, the article, the texts he never sent. When he finished, Melissa was quiet for a long time. David, she said finally, whoever's doing this, they know you, really know you. They're not just attacking your reputation. They're attacking your character, the core of who you are. I know. So who would want to do that? David thought, really thought. And then it hit him. Marcus, Maya's ex, the one who'd confronted them at the cafe, the one who'd left her after the accident. He'd want her back, or at least want to control who she was with. But how would Marcus get access to David's phone, his texts, unless... David's stomach dropped. Trent. Trent had been the one to set up the date. Trent had access to David's phone for years. They worked together. Trent could have cloned it, installed spyware. And Trent's girlfriend was Jessica, who was sitting in that conference room with Maya. It wasn't one person. It was a conspiracy. David grabbed his laptop and started digging. Social media, public records, connection maps. And there it was. Jessica and Marcus, tagged in photos together, from 3 years ago, before Marcus even met Maya. They knew each other. David's hands flew across the keyboard. He pulled up Marcus's LinkedIn, executive at a rival tech company, one that had been trying to acquire Silver Peak for 2 years. If Marcus could discredit Maya, show she had poor judgment, was emotionally compromised, her board might oust her. The company would be vulnerable, ripe for takeover. David wasn't just collateral damage, he was the weapon. His phone buzzed, unknown number. Still think you're the hero, David? Another text. Maya's better off without you. She'll realize that soon. David's jaw clenched. Then one more message, a photo. Maya, in her office, alone, head in her hands, crying. And below it, thanks for breaking her, made my job easier. Something inside David snapped, not rage, not despair. Clarity. He'd spent his whole life being pushed around, set up, underestimated, not anymore. He opened a new browser window and started recording. My name is David Chen, he said into his laptop camera, and I'm about to tell you the truth about what's really happening. He hit upload, and the war began. But what David didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Maya wasn't crying in that photo because she believed the lies. She was crying because she'd just discovered something that changed everything, something about David's past, something he'd never told her, something that made her question whether she'd been wrong about him after all. David's video hit 1 million views in 3 hours. In it he laid out everything. The timeline, the connections between Marcus and Jessica, the fabricated texts, the corporate takeover plot. He held nothing back. I'm not a hero, he said into the camera, voice steady. I'm just a guy who showed up, who treated someone with respect, and apparently that was threatening enough to destroy. He paused. But here's what they didn't count on. I've been broke before. I've been alone before. I've been called a failure before, and I'm still here. He looked directly into the lens. Maya, if you're watching this, I don't care about your money. I never did. I care about you. And I'm going to prove it. The video ended. Within an hour, the internet exploded. Investigative journalists started digging. Someone found Marcus's financial ties to Jessica's family. Another uncovered emails between Marcus and a board member at Silver Peak discussing removal strategies. The house of cards was collapsing, but David wasn't watching the fallout. He was standing outside Silver Peak Tower at midnight, waiting. The glass doors opened. Maya wheeled out, alone. No security, no assistant. She looked exhausted, hollowed out. You shouldn't be here, she said. Neither should you. It's midnight. I own the building. I can be here whenever I want. David stepped closer. Maya, stop. She held up a hand. Just stop. Silence stretched between them. I saw your video, Maya said finally. Very dramatic. It was true. I know. Her voice cracked. I had my team verify everything 3 hours ago. Marcus, Jessica, the whole conspiracy. She looked up at him, eyes glistening. You were right. About all of it. Then why do you look like you still don't trust me? Maya's hands gripped her wheelchair. Because I found something else. David's stomach dropped. Your ex-wife, Melissa. Maya pulled out her phone. She wrote a blog, years ago, before you two divorced. It's deleted now, but I had someone recover it. She turned the screen toward him. David's blood ran cold. The blog post was titled, "Living with a Man Who Saves Everyone But Himself." Maya's voice was quiet. She wrote about how you gave everything to everyone, how you'd stay late helping co-workers, donate to every charity, take in every stray. How she felt invisible because you were always looking for the next person to rescue. She paused. She wrote that you didn't love people. You just needed to be needed. The words cut deeper than any lie Marcus could have fabricated, because they were true, or at least they had been. Maya, David said carefully, I was a different person then. Were you? Her eyes searched his. Or am I just another project? Another broken thing for you to fix so you can feel good about yourself? David's throat tightened. Is that really what you think? I don't know what to think. Maya's voice rose. I've spent 2 years having people either pity me or use me. And then you show up. Perfect timing, perfect words, perfect everything. And I wanted so badly to believe it was real. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But what if it's not? What if I'm just another woman you're trying to save? The question hung in the air. David knelt down, eye level with her. You want the truth? He said. The real truth? Maya nodded, barely. When I first sat down at that cafe, yeah, part of me wanted to be the good guy. Part of me wanted to prove something. He swallowed hard. But then you looked at me, and you said, you don't have to do this. And something shifted. What? I realized you weren't asking to be saved. You were asking to be seen. His voice broke. And maybe, so was I. Maya's breath hitched. I'm not perfect, Maya. I've got issues. I've got baggage. I probably do have some savior complex buried in here somewhere. He touched his chest. But what I feel for you, that's not about fixing you. It's about... He stopped, searching for words. It's about finding someone who makes me want to be better. Not for them, for me. Silence. Then Maya spoke, voice barely a whisper. I'm terrified. Of what? That you'll leave. Like Marcus did. Like everyone does when things get hard. David took her hand. Things are already hard, Maya. And I'm still here. For a long moment, she just looked at him. Really looked. Then she smiled. Small. Fragile. Real. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay, I believe you. She squeezed his hand. But David. Yeah? If you ever lie to me about anything, we're done. No second chances. Deal. 3 months later, the Lane Foundation officially launched. Not just an accessibility initiative, a full-scale movement. Consulting, advocacy, legal support. With David as director. Marcus was fired from his company after the conspiracy went public. Jessica disappeared from social media entirely. Trent sent David an apology text that David deleted without reading. Justice wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was just quiet removal of toxic people from your life. The launch event was packed. Reporters, activists, business leaders. Sophie sat in the front row, wearing a dress she'd picked out herself, beaming with pride. Maya took the stage. Literally took it. Walking. The prosthetics were advanced, cutting edge. She'd been training for months in secret. The room gasped. David's eyes filled with tears. Maya looked right at him. Someone once told me that real strength isn't in your legs. It's in showing up even when you're scared. She smiled. So here I am, showing up. The applause was deafening. After the event, David found Maya outside on the balcony looking over the city. You walked, he said. I did. She turned to him. But you know what? I didn't do it to prove anything. I did it because I wanted to, not for anyone else, for me. David smiled. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us. She took his hand. And for the first time in years, maybe ever, David didn't feel like he was rescuing anyone. He felt like he was home. 6 months after that, David and Maya stood together at a podium, announcing a $50 million grant program for disability entrepreneurs. Sophie sat front row again, but this time she wasn't alone. Maya's younger sister was beside her. They'd become friends. Families, David realized, weren't just built on blood. They were built on showing up, on staying, on choosing each other day after day. After the press conference, a reporter stopped them. "Mr. Chen, Ms. Lane, people are calling your story a modern fairy tale. What do you say to that?" David looked at Maya. Maya looked at David. "Fairy tales have magic," Maya said. "We just had kindness." "And," David added, "kindness isn't magic. It's a choice. One anyone can make." The reporter smiled. "Any wedding bells in the future?" Maya laughed. "One miracle at a time." But as they walked away, she leaned close to David and whispered, "Although I wouldn't say no if you asked." David's heart soared. A year later, they did get married. Small ceremony. Close friends and family only. Sophie was the flower girl and cried through the entire thing. During his vows, David said, "I promise to show up every single day, not to save you, but to walk beside you or wheel beside you or whatever mobility device you're feeling that day." Maya laughed through tears. "I promise to let you and to remind you that you're worth showing up for too." They kissed. The room erupted. And somewhere in a corner booth of a cafe across town, a young couple sat down for a first date. The woman was nervous. The man was kind. And when he saw her wheelchair, he didn't flinch. He just smiled and said, "Hi, I'm Daniel." She smiled back. "I'm Grace." And somewhere in the universe, a cycle of kindness continued. Because that's the thing about goodness. It doesn't end. It multiplies. One moment, one choice, one person at a time. David and Maya's story wasn't a fairy tale. It was proof. Proof that cruelty doesn't win. That dignity matters. That kindness, real, genuine, everyday kindness, can change everything. And sometimes the person you save by showing up is yourself. If this story touched you, please subscribe and let us know where you're watching from. Share it with someone who needs to remember that kindness still exists. Because stories like this, they're only powerful when they're passed on. Thank you for watching.